What's going on, guys? Welcome to the show. Quick disclaimer, my voice is pretty much gone, so if I sound like a mutant or something, you know why. We're going to talk about 6 fragrances for the cold weather. We're in fall and winter, and despite where you guys are from, we're going to give you 6 scents for each time of the day that are good for cold weather right now, especially moving towards the holidays. I'm from Arizona. Mykah, where are you from?
I'm up in Montana, so we get some pretty cold weathers up here.
What's
Winter.
it averaging right now?
It's been kind of warm actually. It's been about 50, but other years, it's super snowy and probably like 10 degrees average.
Okay. Yeah, for me, mornings are like 40, 50 degrees and afternoons are like 60, 70 right now, which is crazy in Arizona. We only get that like 2, 3 months out of the year. But we're going to talk about cold weather fragrances today. But a good segue to that is an intro to my guest today. Mykah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people?
Hey everyone, I'm Mykah, better known as Mykah Fragrance. Some of you might know me from either my channel or my previous appearance on Scent Bubbles channel. Just here to give everyone a positive experience within fragrances and try to guide them on the right way.
And Mykah, let the people know how old you are.
I'm 17 years old.
The big 17. One thing that I love about my channel is I want to expose people to the entire fragrance community. The guys, the girls, the kids, the adults, and everything in between, because we all love fragrances. And what's so cool about fragrances is you have me, a 37-year-old man, talking to a 17-year-old kid because we both love this smelly water stuff. And so that's just so cool. There's not a lot of things out there that connect age groups so flawlessly. And so I'm excited to have Mykah on. You just reminded me you were on for Wheel of Fragrance. And did you do another piece of content with me before? I could have swore we
No,
met like twice.
I don't think we ever did. I know, we've been in on each other's lives, but I think it was just the Wheel of Fragrance.
Okay. Well, we're going to have you back a lot more often. Again, guys, just so you know, we're going to go back and forth for 3 rounds. So in total, we'll have 6 fragrances. Make sure you look in the description after this video. I will list all of the fragrances that are discussed. And the way I divided it is cold weather fragrances in the morning, in the midday, and in the afternoon. Now, you might say, well, SB, who the heck wears 3 fragrances in one day like that? And even though you might not, there might be a kind of day where maybe you have an occasion that leans where the most important part of your day might be in the morning or in the midday or in the afternoon. And this is just a cool way to think about fragrances and divide it up. Again, you can wear whatever fragrances you want at any time of day, but these are the moods and the times that I'm thinking about. So we're really kind of talking about like occasions. You know what I'm saying? But either way, if you just wanted to wear one of these fragrances the entire day, that's totally fine as well. We're just getting picky because we're doing content. So anyway, with that being said, we're going to start off with a great like morning cold weather fragrance. That's a good fit for that. Mykah, why don't you start us off?
All right. So for, the morning, my thought process behind this, I didn't want something too heavy, but I also wanted something that would kind of put me in a good mood. So Stronger With You EDT, this was my first fragrance. It was one that really reminds me of when me and my girlfriend first started dating. It's an EDT. Like I said, it's not too heavy and just really does put me in a good mood. You get a nice mix of chestnut and vanilla, but yes, a nice warm fragrance that isn't too heavy.
And when did you get that fragrance?
So this was back sometime like November of 2022.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think what separates that from a lot of your vanillic, spicy, or, holiday or even date night style fragrances, I think most people would classify that as like a romantic fragrance. But what really separates that to me from a lot of the other kind of spicy, sweet stuff like Lamal Elixir, even some of the stuff from Versace, Prada, is the nutmeg, the nuttiness, or I think, or not nutmeg, chestnut, right?
Chestnut.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the chestnuttiness and even like stuff like by the fireplace and whatnot, I feel like that chestnut note really kind of gives it its own identity in the space. And it's also another fragrance that I think, at least in my experience, I don't know if you've had this, Micah, women really love it. Like,
Oh,
women without question like know this fragrance very well. They love smelling it on a man. Shoot, they might even wear it themselves. It's just like, it's one of those like ticket of entry. Like, you wear it, you know the girl's gonna like it. You know, even outside of like dates and stuff like that, women love it. They love smelling it in the air. And it's also doesn't lean too holiday. It's cozy and warm like a holiday, but feels more fragrancy, for lack of better words. Sometimes a holiday fragrance can kind of almost lean like food or like potpourri or, you know, specifically holiday-ish and gourmandish. I feel it walks like a nice fine line of still feeling like a full-fledged fragrance and not going too gourmandish. It's like entry level gourmand, wouldn't you say? Especially the EDT, wouldn't you say?
yeah. I mean, I would say, the whole line as a whole is for sure sweeter, and I'm not the biggest fan of gourmands, but this is still, kind of like a nice, boozy, sweet, as you kind of said, like borderline gourmand fragrance that I can really get behind. And I'm going to comment on what you said. Women absolutely love, doesn't matter if it's the EDT, intensely, absolutely parfum. The whole Stronger With You line is just a woman pleasing scent.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny, like, not only have I heard that in my own feedback, but when people talk about fragrances online, women talk about this fragrance often, and they often are trying to buy it, you know, for themselves, for their man. So it has a lot of name recognition. And even in the clone world, so many people are like, yo, I want a clone of Stronger With You. You know, and there's multiple clones of Stronger With You and Stronger With You Intensely from multiple different brands. So again, the name recognition is just a super popular scent. I'm going to hit you with a little grown man talk. So I'm going to bring out an old school, timeless French fougere, and this is Cacharell pour le Homme. And the reason I picked this fragrance is because oftentimes you wouldn't think, and I don't just want to call this a barbershop scent. We categorize fougères into different things. Some people think of fougères as green fragrances. Some people think of them as more aromatic fragrances. Some people think of them as old man scents or barbershop. And what's really great about this is it's so French. It almost leaves the barbershop, or maybe just feels different than a traditional barbershop because it's French. It's a classic fougere in the sense that it just has 1,000,001 ingredients in it. You know, it's got tons of florals. It's got tons of green notes. It's spicy. But what I think makes it cozy as a winter wear, as a fresh winter wear, is it has a buttload of nutmeg in it. And so it's got this like fresh green outdoor French feel. So it's somewhat of a barbershoppy outdoor scent, but then it's just coated in this nutmeg. And the nutmeg is like this warm, spicy, almost like vanillic without vanilla. It's like sweet without having vanilla, if you could think of that. Like it brings in all the little bit of sweetness from warm spices and florals to give almost like a 30-40% sweetness on the fragrance, which is a bit above normal for a fougere. Fougères virtually have no sweetness unless they have, you know, like a cardamom or a cumin or cinnamon, something like that. And most fougères don't really have those unless they're Oriental fougères. So that nutmeg is what makes it like it reminds you of the outdoors, but then that coziness of the nutmeg just gives you all that, the cozy, warm fuzziness that you would get with like an entry gourmand like Stronger With You, but still has that fresh morningness. Almost like you're sitting on your porch having breakfast outdoors, or you're at a restaurant, you're eating outside, and you just smell the environment, but then you the doors cracked open to the restaurant, so you get all that warm, gourmandy fun. Really cool take if you're interested in fougere, but don't want to go completely Boy Scout with it. I just think this is one of the coziest green scents I've ever smelled. And again, the Frenchness of it is what takes it completely out of the ballpark of like maybe something like a lot of your Bentley fragrances, which have the barbershop feel but smell like an American barbershop. You know, the beard foam, the warm amber, the fresh spiciness. This feels a little bit French, and I know that that doesn't mean anything, but when you smell it, you'll know right away. There's just a different type of refinement with it that doesn't quite make you think, American barbershop, therefore it's old man scent. I think it's definitely a mature scent, but I think it's something people can definitely jive with. And it's so popular that people still buy it a lot today. And even on Fragrantica, it has a 4.3 out of 5 rating. So definitely get your nose on it. It dropped in 1981, and it's basically like a hood classic. I wear it a lot because I'm in the workplace, and it's just like a get up and go get it type of fragrance. You feel like a dude in a suit and a top hat. You don't have to dress that way, but it just gives you that feeling of like manhood. The man, it might not be, it's, if it's not the man you are, it's the man you want to be, you know? So Cacharell Pour L'Homme, really good scent for the morning. And again, I picked it because the greenness and fougere-ness is something more fresh in the morning, appropriate to me. What you got for us for round two, Mykah?
So for, midday, that's when it's gonna be the warmest. So I figured let's kind of get a nice warm fragrance, has a little bit of a tropical vibe to it.
Mm.
This is City Rhythms Martha's Vineyard. Now, this fragrance, you get a plum and coconut combo. It's a black coconut combo, I believe. Plum and black coconut in the top notes. And then you kind of get this tobacco, vanilla, musky driftwood dry down. A little bit of like florals in the middle, some orris roots and jasmine. But this fragrance, it's super, super nice. I like that it's still a warm, cool weather fragrance, but it still retains some nice sweetness that if it does get, a little bit warm out of nowhere during the day, it'll shine nicely in the, I guess if you could say, the heat of the winter, when
Yeah,
it gets
yeah,
a little.
yeah.
But yeah, it's an extrait de parfum as well. So it lasts all day on me, projects nicely, and as a plus, it's glittery too.
Oh, that's sick. It's like a little tornado in there. What,
Yeah.
what I've been taking my time with City Rhythms. I've only smelled like two fragrances. I truthfully want to try like the whole line in one sit down. So I'm kind of like trying to accumulate it. City Rhythms, I believe, split off, right? Like it was a co-owned operation where the one of the other guys split off into his own brand where he basically reformulated all of them. But all that aside, tell me how your experience has been with City Rhythms. Like, how many do you own? How many of the line have you smelled? What do you love about it? Because it seems like it's on par with like a Mancera. Like, they have a lot of different choices. The young crowd really loves the brand. What do you love about it?
So one thing I do want to say real quick, they sell a 10 pack of like virtually all their fragrances except for a couple, and it's like $500 or something like that. So
Oh
if
my
you do
gosh.
want to get a bunch of them, you can get it and save yourself some money. Um, I don't know. I think as the whole for City Rhythm, I have Martha's Vineyard, I have Redline 2654. I have owned Miami Tropical Confessions in Austin, and both of those fragrances were phenomenal. I owned Manhattan. That was a nice tea fragrance. In Puerto Rico is a mango fragrance that I used to own. I don't really like mango though, so I didn't like that one. But it didn't really feel right going around telling people like, "Oh, City Rhythm Puerto Rico sucks," because I don't like mango.
Right, right.
So that one I don't really speak about a lot, but I tell people, "Oh, I've tried that one." I wasn't the biggest fan. As a whole, though, all those fragrances that I listed, other than Puerto Rico, I really enjoyed.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but doesn't City Rhythms, like the whole theme of their brand is like they want you to think of a place when you
Mhm.
smell them?
Yeah, yeah. So like Martha's Vineyard, that's kind of I guess more like old rich people live there, so it's kind of more of like I suppose you'd say like a old money kind of scent.
Uh-huh.
With Redline 2654. That's a blend between Miami and San Diego. And it definitely does remind me of like a partying scene and some nightlife for sure. You know, like San Diego and Miami, like the fun cultures and stuff. It definitely comes out in the fragrance.
Okay. Yeah, and excuse me. Um so you've owned a lot from that brand. Does when you buy a bottle of that, does it come with any kind of like description or story of the fragrance?
So yes, I'll grab the one for Martha's Vineyard. Would you like me to read it out to you?
Yeah, go ahead. Why not?
Okay, so my journey led me to the storied shores of Martha's Vineyard, a destination I've long dreamed of experiencing. This iconic island, rich in history and charm, effortlessly weaves the past with the present, preserving its timeless character while captivating travelers from around the world. With its picturesque Victorian architecture and serene coastal beauty, it has long been a retreat for visionaries, artists, and luminaries alike. I am certain that this fragrance embodies the essence of Martha's Vineyard, its elegance, its vibrance, and its undeniable allure.
Show me that deal, like the artwork.
The artwork on the front.
Okay, so it's kind of almost like a
Yeah,
postcard.
yeah, super cool. Yeah, and then on the back it shows you like no breakdown and stuff, little map of Martha's Vineyard, and then that little excerpt and stuff. But pretty cool. I like how it's not the creator isn't just randomly putting these fragrances together. He's putting in a little bit of thought with them for sure.
Yeah, and you have to go to these places to be able to title them that. So it's cool when a perfume house makes a concept and then tries to connect it. There's a little bit that goes more into packaging, presentation, story, and how they sell the product. So that's really cool. Yeah, great choice. So this is a fragrance I'm certain that Mike is aware of, and I wanted to kind of show him something he hasn't seen, show him something he has seen, and then the third one's a wild card, but I know he's heard of it. So this one, let's just go straight into it. Bentley For Men OG. And the reason I picked this is because, quite honestly, I really wasn't a fan of Bentley Intense. It truly is an intense. A lot of times when you get extreme or intense or intenso, it isn't. It's just like branding and marketing. But Bentley For Men Intense, the moment you smell it, you're like, oh my gosh, you're just hit with this frothy, barbershoppy, rum-soaked fougere-ish kind of fragrance. It's very sweet. It's very intense. And honestly, that's why a lot of people like it. But
Mm-hmm.
I those weren't notes that I wanted to get a lot of. And just like Mykah said with the one fragrance that he didn't want to tell people it's not good just because he doesn't like it, I felt similar. It's like, well, the main reason I don't like it being an intense is because I don't think those notes should be intense. And so I was in a Burlington and I didn't even know they had a Bentley original. Well, let me put it this way. I knew there was an original because there was an intense, but I didn't know that it was truly a flank because I thought maybe this would have smelled like something completely different. Don't ask me why. But when I saw it, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy it. You do that thing where you're in this store and you're like, it's 19.99. I have some extra money. I'm just gonna go for it. We've all blind bought. That's like the first blind buy we ever do is like a TJ Maxx or a Ross or a Burlington. And so I picked this up and I was so happy when I smelled it because it's everything Bentley For Men Intense is cut in half, maybe even a third of Bentley Intense. Like it's got that boozy, rummy feel, but it's so light and airy and fresh. And for a light, airy, and fresh fragrance, it truly carries into that 6 to 8 hour mark, but it's not boombastic. It's not shouting across the room. It just is, you just catch these little wafts of this rum, really, rum and amber. And in the wintertime, it's awesome. I truly believe in my fragrance journey that I feel like there are some fragrances that without a breeze are terrible.
Mm.
This is one of those fragrances. I don't like it when there's no breeze, but if it's windy, absolutely love it because it breaks it down into something that's so much more palatable. So the fact that this is half of what Bentley Intense was, and then you catch a breeze with it, it makes this airy, light, crisp amber sweetness that truthfully doesn't make me think of a barbershop. It's more of like boozy, like how Side Effect is, or it's more intimate than barbershoppy. I just thought this was like a rare gem for me. I really enjoy it. Again, I can only wear it when there's a breeze. It's more fall appropriate, but you guys got to understand, I'm from Arizona, so winter isn't truly like your guys' winters. There's not snow outside. It's probably just like a typical everyday cold day for you guys. And so my approach to heavier, whether it's gourmand, whether it's sweet, intimate, whether it's spices, whether it's heavy woods, I always have more of an EDT approach to those compositions because it truly isn't super cold. If it's cold where you are, you could probably walk around with your shirt off in Arizona in the winter and you won't even think it's that cold. So fragrances like these to me are like the perfect heaviness and the perfect sweetness for winters in Arizona. And I really love it. And it's also super signature compared to the Bentley line. Nothing else in the Bentley line smells like this. Everything from Bentley and Mercedes kind of walks this gentleman line or this fougere line, but this is truly something else. It's sweet, it's boozy, it's ambery. Nothing else smells like that. So I'm glad I could get into this DNA with this fragrance because I definitely wouldn't have been into it with the Intense. And for me, mid-afternoon, it's going to carry forever, but it's going to be light. You still get that dampness and that like middle heaviness with this fragrance, but I just like it a lot. Bentley For Men original, really hard to find these days. Online you can find it, but I was shocked to find it in a Burlington. I haven't seen it since, and I never saw it before. So get your nose on it. It's surprisingly a different experience than the Intense. Round 3, Mykah, what you got for us, man? Take it home.
Round three. So,
Evening.
yeah, evening, night. So this one, I was having a hard time deciding because there are truly like two beautiful night fragrances in my collection that I really enjoy. This one is just an honorable mention, but I feel like Dior Sauvage Elixir should be somewhere in here. A nice, strong masculine lavender, woodsy, licorice root sort of fragrance. Sauvage Elixir is great. I just feel like for maybe some people it's a little too intense, maybe a little too masculine. So I picked something else for my main one, my actual pick, I suppose. I picked Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultramall. Now, Ultramall is a beautiful fragrance, in my opinion. You get lavender, vanilla, some woods, some green notes, a nice juicy pear note as well.
That's
This fragrance,
Ultramall?
yes, it looks dark. I don't know why it always looks dark. Everyone thinks I have La Male at Parfum, but trust me, this is Ultramall. Super nice, sweet fragrance, lighter, I would say, compared to like, La Male Parfum. But just
Or
like a
even
very
Lamal Elixir.
and La Male Elixir, much darker fragrance. But I feel like Ultramall really just like encapsulates nightlife. It's such like a lively partying scent.
Oh, it is. Listen, man, there was once upon a time where you go to a club and if you smelled 10 guys around you, you'd all have on the same fragrance. It would be Ultramall. So it's like that is the quintessential fragrance men used to get with a chick. And I'm being very PG-13 with that. But it's like if you wanted a girl and you wanted to go all the way, there was once upon a time everybody you knew had that fragrance. But aside from that, it's just great on the nose.
Mm.
Like it's smooth, but it's fun. It just evokes kind of this like get up and do somethingness to it. And I feel like for how sweet it is, it's balanced to perfection. If you're gonna go crazy sweet Make it smooth. I don't want like a sharp cut. Give me like, it's almost like in terms of sweetness, and I talk in pictures, Mykah, so I apologize in advance. The sweetness in Ultramalt is like being punched with a pillow. Like you could get hit really hard with a pillow, but at the end of the day, you're not going to say ow because it has a soft contact, right? The sweetness is so smooth and intense, but it's rounded off so nice that it's still just so easy on the nose. It doesn't shock you like, what the heck? What the heck is all that sweetness? It's like you can move into it and you're like, wait a second. And then yeah, it's intense, but it's tastefully intense.
Hmm.
I couldn't agree more with you. I really love that fragrance. Is there any other actually, let me ask you this. I'm sure, without a question, that you've smelled a lot of not Ultramall, but just Jean Paul Gaultier clones.
Oh yeah.
Uh, what has been your experience with them in terms of like, at the end of the day, do you always find yourself going back to the OGs? Or do you think that they've truly done a good job to where somebody who hasn't owned an OG, we know that the Jean Paul Gaultier clones are good, right? No one's gonna say they're trash. But you personally, have you found yourself just always drifting back to the OGs? Or what is it for you that always brings you back to the OGs with this in a time where I think you can get every Jean Paul Gaultier now for under $30 between,
Hmm.
Lattafa and Offnon and Armoff. They've all got a rendition, either even all the way up to Paradise Garden. You can get your fix.
Hmm. Um, I mean, I would say as far as like John Paul Gaultier's, um, Ultramall, if I want something with that DNA, it has to be Ultramall. I feel like Ram Silver and 9 p.m. they make it a little too synthetic. Maybe, because the ingredients aren't as high quality. I feel like Ultramall is already a synthetic DNA and it doesn't need to be done any more synthetic. So
Mm-hmm.
Ultramall, I'll always go the real thing. I don't know why I was going with that. LeBeau, I'll always go the real thing. Paradise Garden. I have Hawass Tropical. I think that one's better than Paradise Garden because to me, Paradise Garden was just a little bit too light, and
Mm-hmm.
Hawass Tropical is a little bit more of a heavy scent. I
Mm-hmm.
used to own Lamal Elixir, and it's an okay fragrance, but I sampled Hawass Elixir, and I'd rather have that one. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it really does depend on the fragrance. But like LeBeau and Ultramall, it has to be actual John Paul Gaultier, cannot be a clone.
Yeah. And I mean, synthetic is only bad when you know. Like
Mm.
everybody's using synthetics, but the difference between you actually saying I don't like it because it's synthetic, really what you're saying is this is off-putting. This is sharp. This is untasteful. The thing that perfumers have to realize is that when you're using synthetics, balance is everything. And so a lot of what the clones get wrong, not just with Jean-Paul Gaultier, even with Stronger With You, even with the Azaro Most Wanted DNA, is sometimes they don't spend enough time balancing the fragrance. They have a really good concept. They've already nailed the part where, oh, I smell it. It smells like Lamal Elixir. Okay, cool. But now they have to balance it so that things don't stick their head out because when they do, it makes it impossible to enjoy it, even if you want to. So, again, I think with Jean Paul Gaultier, everything is tastefully balanced. The problem with the entire line is truthfully, mostly I find performance. You have stuff that is good and underperforms, but then you have stuff that's, solid and performs just fine. People's reason for jumping into the clones is similar to what you said, where it's like, well, I just like the clone because it takes that and does more with it. But even if clones didn't exist, the Jean Paul Gaultier line is very tastefully smooth, no matter how sweet or how not sweet it is much the fragrance is. And so if you can beat that from a clone, if you can just nail the balance, you can intensify it or decrease it all you want because it's palatable. Synthetics in and of themselves are not the problem. It's the perfumer. Now, let me just real quick before I because my camera's doing that goofiness. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that fragrance?
I mean, I feel like one thing that is a little important, as much hate as Ultramall in that DNA gets, across, I'd say specifically TikTok, but just fragrance social media in general,
Mm-hmm.
this is my top complimented fragrance of all time. And I feel like that itself kind of speaks volumes, at least for me.
Absolutely. No question. And you're not alone with that sentiment. Like I said, ever since that fragrance has come out, it has been an absolute monstrous hit. Really, only collectors are over it, and not all of them. It's like, but you got to realize, out in the real world, the thing is still a hit.
Mm.
Um, Excellent. Okay, I'm gonna finish this off. We're approaching the 30-minute mark, and this was one of my latest clone pickups. I haven't. People have been like, SB, why haven't you been buying clones? Are you going to still do clones? Yes, guys, of course. But, I fall down rabbit holes and I can't get out sometimes. I fell down the vintage rabbit hole. Then I fell down, it's like I fell down the clone rabbit hole for like a whole year. And I dropped like more content than all of your favorite creators together. So I really gave you guys like years worth of clone content. We'll get back to it. We needed to go do some other stuff, at least for my journey. But I do have a late clone pickup, and it's from the house of Arabiyat Prestige, who is slowly becoming, to me, like top 5 dead or alive. Arabiyat Prestige can go toe-to-toe with Armaf, can go toe-to-toe with Lattafa, can go toe-to-toe with French Avenue. Any of your titans, Arabiyat Prestige has hundreds of fragrances. I haven't come across one bad Arabiyat Prestige yet. I know I say that because I want somebody to go in the comments and tell me which Arabiyat Prestige sucks. But the other great thing about Arabiyat Prestige is they're just doing the clones that we want. Amouage Outlands came out. Everybody was talking about it. They made a clone. Freaking Gucci Guilty Elixir started being the talk of the town. They made a clone for it. Afternoon Swim. It's like whatever everybody's talking about, Arabiyat Prestige just pops out with a clone, and it's amazing. And so I'm really rocking with that house. This is Ramad Oriental, which is supposed to be cloning Amouage Outlands. And this is my night scent. It's truly fun. Vanilla and spice. But what separates this from any other vanilla and spice is they mature it with resins and synthetics. Now, typically you would think, well, then it must just smell old. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of Amouage that is totally old. Like, you smell an Amouage and the complexity is just so intense and complicated. You're like, okay, this is 35 and up, no question. But the clones really have the opportunity to make a lot of these DNAs more palatable and feel younger. And that's what they did here. I can't really speak to the accuracy, and I don't want to because this show isn't about that. But again, if you want a vanilla spice fragrance that goes down the incensey resins path, but is still super mass appealing, like, you're not going to smell an incense stick. You're not going to smell this fire roasted resinous, you're not going to smell this firewood experience. You're just going to smell a little, incense, a little more dark spicy than fresh spicy take on vanilla, amber, and spices. It's so mass appeal wearable. Yeah, you'll feel a tiny bit older, but the vanilla is really the star of the show, the vanilla saffron amber. So it imitates a lot of your favorite vanilla spice fragrances. It just has a kind of dark tint on it. Like, almost think of it like Bleu de Chanel Les Exclusifs. It's Bleu de Chanel with a dark tint on it. I call it, if Bleu de Chanel is a blue fragrance, Les Exclusifs is a dark blue fragrance. Just tints it a little bit darker. So if you like any of your vanilla spice fragrances, it just tints it a little bit darker. But this surprisingly is still super fresh. So you're going to get that 8 hours plus performance, but Honestly, I wear Ramad Oriental all freaking day long. It's a fun fragrance. It's like when you want to just dip your foot in the mature pool. You know, when you're little and like you're used to swimming in the 5 foot deep water, but like you go to those like YMCA's and you see they have like a 14-foot deep section and you're like, oh man, I know I don't want to swim in that because it's scary. But maybe you walk down the ladder and sit in it while you hold the wall, just to say you did. This is like when you want to tiptoe into incense and a little bit dark stuff, but you still want the fragrance to feel super mass appealing with the vanilla spice DNA. That's what this is. A little toe dip in the water of maturity, but still functions just like a Gucci Guilty Elixir, just like any of your vanilla spicy fragrances. I think they did a spectacular job with this. Ramad Oriental from Arabiyat Prestige, and you can get it for such a good price. It's not even funny. Okay. We've given you guys 6 fragrances that you can wear out in the cold, fall, winter, holiday, daytime, midday, night, or even all day. I thought you had some really great picks, some timeless picks, and I wanted to throw in some stuff that I just knew wouldn't probably be mentioned to put people onto some other stuff that's still super affordable. All my fragrances you can get for under 35 bucks. And in Mykah's case, I think a couple of them sat around the $100 price point, but honestly, during the holidays, you could probably get some absolute steals on them. So definitely keep your eye on those. I'm going to put all of them in the description below. Mykah, do you have anything else for these guys before we sign off?
I appreciate the support from you guys. I appreciate the support from Scent Bubble. Make sure to subscribe to Scent Bubble. Make sure to subscribe to me as well. But yeah, this was a fun experience. I'm glad I could come on here for another episode, and hoping we can do one again soon.
Absolutely. And I just want to end by saying this. I keep my eye on the entire fragrance community. I might not always talk and comment, but I always pop in and say hello. I throw donations at people. I try to let people know that I'm there. Out of all the young people, and there's a lot of young people, especially now, we're in a fragrance craze. Everybody's starting to want to have more than 2 fragrances in their collection. And when I watch content creators come into the space, a lot of times it doesn't even matter if they're young. Even the older guys out there, yes, I'm talking to you, they're not consistent. And so I've seen a lot of kids come in, they get hype, and then they die out very quickly. Mykah easily is the most consistent young cat I've seen in FragCom, and it shows. He consistently grows. He's not going viral, but he's consistently growing. Everybody can rely on him to be around. He uses the YouTube platform well. And so if there's anyone I can recommend, and Mykah's like truly an old soul, but he's still young as crap. So he's got a unique perspective on his journey and the practicality of how he uses fragrances in his own life. So he has a story to tell that's unique, especially to my audience. So if there's anybody I can recommend you guys to, ignore his age. You will learn a lot about fragrances and how to use them and see a cool guy on a journey. Subscribe to his channel. You will be fully fed with content from him, and unlike most of the young guys out there, he's very reliable and consistent with his content. All right, with that being said, Mykah Fragrances SB, 6 fragrances for cold weather as we approach the Christmas holiday. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and let us know what fragrances you're rocking. Do you think through fragrances like morning, midday, night, or occasion based when it comes to cold weather? I know for me, I'm excited because we typically gravitate towards sweet fragrances. But for a guy like me who lives in Arizona, I buy a lot of sweet fragrances and then I realize, dang it, I can't wear them because it's hot most of the time and it pisses me off. So this time of the year, I'm happy. I call it the shotgun season. I can take any fragrance on my shelf, spray it 100 times, and I'm outside just wafting because I can get away with it. There's a breeze in the air, and it's just a fun time. I can mix a lot of my ideas. I can start messing with the oils. It's a fun time to be alive with fragrance. Anyways, with that being said, guys, sound off in the comments. Talk to us. We do talk back. And until next time, Mykah, I appreciate you. Everybody have a blessed week. Peace.